It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment rights. Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Drammissi, and Michael Schwartz will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights to keep and bear arms. Visit gunownersradio.com with questions to learn how to become a sponsor of Gun Owners Radio and get involved. Together, we will win. Now here's your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Drammissi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, does selling your home stress feel overwhelming? Well, it doesn't have to be that way with Scott Vincent from Caldwell Banker Royalty Realty. Scott is the perfect guy to help you sell or buy your home. Scott has always been a San Diego County gun owner, board member from the start. So if you're moving, let fellow Second Amendment supporter and real estate broker Scott Vincent help you sell your home and find your new home away in the United States. Call him today at 619-948-2459. Tell him you heard all about it on Gun Owners Radio. Again, give Scott a call, 619-948-2459, or just go online to Scott Vincent. That's FVINSON.com. All right, what do you got today?
Hey, did you guys check out the Magnum interview we did Thursday? Were you guys able to tune in?
No,
Jack
I was
Wilson?
not in town.
It was cool. Where were you?
Where was it? L.A.
Oh, what were you doing up there? Car stuff?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we interviewed.
But I heard it was good. And I've talked to a couple of people that have actually seen it.
Yeah, it was cool. Jackson, did you see it? Were you able to check it out? No.
As he looks
No.
over his
No.
shoulder.
You had. I know you have a busy schedule, so you probably weren't able to tune in. That might have been Thursday. Isn't that the day you shoot? No, it's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jack Wilson, it was very, very interesting. I thought it was actually pretty fascinating. He was the guy from the Texas church shooting who put an end to it, and it was really fascinating. Did you check it out at all, Joe?
No, I thought about it about an hour before, and then I thought about it again about an hour after it was over. But fortunately, it's going to be posted, so I'll be able to watch it.
Yeah, we're going to post it. He is that guy is made of granite.
Isn't it already posted?
No, not yet.
Oh, I thought it was.
He was. Talk about it. He was so matter of fact and so, just like unflappable. It's not surprising. I'll tell you just an interesting tidbit if you haven't seen it, just to kind of whet your appetite, is it's like a 42 or 43 foot headshot that he made to stop this heinous monster that was killing people, which is horrible and tragic. 43 feet, I think, right? Does that sound right, Joe? 43 feet? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I hadn't heard. I heard it was a little bit closer than that, but that's still almost 15 yards. That's
Yeah.
under stress, not bad.
Right. So he has practiced that. So it was one shot. It was a headshot, and it was perfect. And it ended everything right there. Boom. Done. Stopped the carnage. It was absolutely amazing. One of the interesting things that he talked about in the interview is that he's practiced that shot since, and only like on a range under a controlled environment without the stress of a mass shooter. And he only makes that shot about 70-80% of the time.
Wow.
Yeah, see, and that's what I was saying too, because a lot of these guys are saying, "Oh, I could make that shot. I was not that far." And no, but he did it when he had to,
right.
Under that situation. It's
right.
not. Yeah, you can make it a lot of times at the range, but
yeah,
can you do it when you have to?
Well, I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that he practices it since, that he's tried to do it since, and that he only makes about 8 out of 10 times. But this guy, like you said, he made it when he had to, and it was amazing. It was a really, really interesting interview. He was just so matter of fact about everything.
Pretty calm, cool, and collected, right?
Extremely.
Yeah, you can see that too if you watch the actual church video, the shooting. You can see he's really. It doesn't look like there's a lot of nervousness or anything like that at all. He does look really calm.
Yeah, it needed to get done, and he did it. And I think everybody there is blessed and lucky that he was the guy.
Yet that other guy could have shot back.
Which guy?
Didn't the other guy have a gun?
The bad guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he actually murdered 2 people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, he could have very easily been shot.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh
he
yeah.
could have ducked. I mean, I probably would have ducked.
That's the thing is.
Did you ask him why he didn't duck?
Yeah, and so I asked him a lot about his mindset and what was going on in his head and that sort of thing. And I guess that's what I'm saying is when you watch the interview, he's just very matter of fact. It was just like, well, it needed to get done. You know, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically, you know, it needed to get done, so I did it. Not like, well, you know, I thought this and I had this go through my head, and none of that. It was just I needed to get done. I had the tools to remedy the problem, so I remedied it.
Well, and that's another thing too. When these people talk about that shot, I could have done that. I could have done this. Not only did he do it when he had to, but there was a bunch of screaming, running people between him and that target when he shot too.
Yep.
So
talked about that. Talked about like how did he make that decision and what was. You know, and it just all very matter of fact. It basically, to summarize, although I highly encourage you to watch the video because you learn a lot about him, and he was very interesting to talk to, and what a gentleman. But to summarize, he fell back on his training.
I was just going to say, I think you can base the whole incident on training. You know, to where it's almost second nature.
Yeah.
You know, the situation comes up. He knew exactly what to do. He didn't have to think about it.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing.
So a couple of shout-outs. Shout out to everybody who celebrated Veteran as a Veteran on Thursday, and a big thanks to everybody that thanked a veteran on Thursday and went to a ceremony or a memorial. Whatever. I went to the I don't know if it's called a christening, the christening of the memorial in Santee, which is the first memorial in the nation to honor all 6 branches of the military, including Space Force. What do you think about Space Force, Jackson?
I've always liked space, and to hear Space Force, my mind is always on Space Force whenever we talk about it.
That's awesome. I couldn't have said it better. So it was a very cool ceremony. Thanks to Dustin Trotter, who was the 2nd member of San Diego County Gun Owners ever, and he's the guy on the Santee City Council who was responsible for making sure that Veterans Memorial happened. And of course, thank you to all the veterans and everybody. Shout out. This is an interesting shout out, Dave. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
We're going to hear more about this when we have Laura Lothian on a little bit later. Shout out to the guy at the San Diego airport who works at the Lost and Found. Thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being a supporter of San Diego County Gun Owners. I know you're going to hear this, and we're going to hear all the details on that from Laura Lothian, who won at the La Mesa City Council race. She's gonna fill in all the blanks in that story, but it's gonna make you guys laugh. And a shout out to John Becker. If you spent any time with San Diego County Gun Owners, you probably know who John Becker is. John won. He was the tabletop. He does a ton of tabletops at gun shops, Dave. A ton. And he won for, I guess this is quarter 3. He won the gun. So every quarter we give away a gun to people that have worked tabletops, and he won the gun. So I'm actually meeting him down at Glock store. He's gonna pick out the Glock of his choice, and that's a huge thanks to John for all the volunteer work that he does. And we'll be sure to say hi to Brittany, your friend Brittany at Glock store.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say hi to her, and John Becker's gonna. I think this is gonna be his first Glock too. So, yeah, congratulations, John. I know you're listening as well. So, and then the Not Me SD OC pepper spray situational awareness. How did that go Saturday?
Oh, it went great. We had a full class. We had a number of moms and daughters together. We had a husband, so I had to clean up my jokes and stuff. But no, it went really well. Everybody seemed to have a lot of fun. We had a bunch of inert sprayers donated to us from Palm, so they got to play with those and check them out and spray each other. So it was fun. It went well.
It's cool. Well, thanks for doing that.
At 13, some girls do soccer, some girls do softball. This 13-year-old does competition shooting. So get to know Nami Cannon next.
But first, self-defense in emergencies can happen to anyone, and there's no guarantee that the justice system will be on your side. Make sure you are protected for the legal battles after your self-defense battle. While you protect your family and property, U.S. Law Shield is here to defend you 24/7, 365 days a year with a comprehensive self-defense coverage at affordable price. Bad guys don't take days off, and neither does our coverage. So, listeners, you can get a free T-shirt when you use promo code Gun Owners Radio. Sign up today. Go to uslawshield.com.
So if you're going to have a name like Cannon, I think that there is a very appropriate career path for you, and that is to be a competitive shooter. Or either that or maybe go into the military and do artillery. Our next guest, Nami Cannon, is an award-winning USPSA PCC shooter at the ripe old age of 13. Nami, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're so excited to have you on the phone talking to us. How did you get into...
Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. And now, I mean, am I right? That's an extremely appropriate name to have if you're a competitive shooter, Cannon. Does that, people probably bring that up a lot.
Coincidence.
It's quite the coincidence. Yeah, it kind of is a coincidence there. So how did you get into shooting?
So first we were I think it was around duck season, and we went to Cabela's, and we came across the Michelicks, and my dad was like, oh, I look at Jerry's videos all the time before I get guns. Do you know who he is? And I had no idea. And while he was showing me some of his videos, we came across Lena, and then I was like, oh, this is really cool. And my dad had already been nagging at me to, like, choose a sport, and I was like, oh, I might want to try this. So exactly for my 9th birthday, my dad went through, like, 4 different ranges, and he finally found a coach that would teach little 9-year-old Nami. Thank God.
That's cool. What state are you in?
I'm in Texas.
You're in Texas? Well, I'm surprised. You'd think that they'd be falling all over themselves in Texas to teach a young shooter. Were there really people that were concerned about your age?
I remember him telling me that I think 2 just didn't even respond, and then 1 wasn't interested. And finally, my coach now, Sam Moore, was like, "Yeah, go ahead, take her in."
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Well, now, what was it like your first? Do you remember the first time? So, did you shoot before you went and got a coach, or no? You went and got a coach, and that's how you learned to shoot?
I mean, like, I assume every shooter, I shot, like, a BB gun in the backyard, but that was mostly it. I shot, like, 22 in, like, property here and there, but other than that, not really.
And what are you shooting now?
I now predominantly shoot PCC.
I mean, what kind of
firearm?
firearm?
I do Steel Challenge. It's a quarter circle 10 upper and lower, but it's a lot of other mixed parts.
There you go.
Wow. I can't believe, by the way, I can't believe you're 13. This is like, she's like 13 going on 35. This is like talking to, you sound amazingly composed and mature for 13, far more composed and mature than I was at 13.
Thank you.
I would imagine that probably helps you when you're competing.
Yeah, it does, because I interact with not a ton of people, but it does help with the people I interact with.
So the first...
my social skills were not good at all when I started, so it was really a confidence builder when I started.
Oh, that's interesting. Really? You kind of... Well, I'd imagine everybody's kind of shy at that age. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
You know.
The teacher, or my parents were concerned the teacher was, like, this was, like, first grade. Like, this is how shy... I wouldn't even talk in class. She would try to do everything to get me to talk. It helped slightly, but really when I started shooting, that's when it, like, really boosted my confidence a little more. Wow. I'm not the most confident person now, but it's better than it was.
Well, you sure sound confident. So what do you think about it boosted your confidence?
I don't know, just starting to believe in my abilities, knowing I could do something that some people couldn't.
That's really interesting. Do you remember, like, your first couple of lessons?
I remember the first one. I was so nervous to talk to anyone. I went in the bathroom and, like, cried for 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh, my God, I have to shoot. And then he was like, oh, tell me 5 things about safety. And I sat there and I was like, oh, I don't know. So he taught me, like, 10 things probably. And then we went out, and so he was like, oh, show me what you can do. I don't even think I could shoot 25 rounds in a row at the time with my little pistol. It's kind of embarrassing.
Well, it sounds like you did better. You crying in the bathroom for 5 minutes. I got to tell you, I think I was just a little younger than you. I begged my parents to put me in a Taekwondo class. And my mom signed me up and told me, okay, we're going. And I started bawling my eyes out. I was so scared. I didn't want to go. And ended up not going. And I totally regret that. I didn't take any kind of self-defense for years after that. So it sounds like you did a great job. You did an awesome job. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I actually think I did Taekwondo for around a year or so. I don't remember any of it.
Well, you did way better than I did. You know, we actually have a competitive shooter here in the studio who is 8 years old. Well, you haven't done competitions yet, right? Have you done a competition, Jackson?
Not yet.
He's 8 years old. He goes once a week, and he shoots what do you shoot? What do you currently shoot?
I am currently shooting a 9mm 48.
Glock 48. What advice do you have for an 8-year-old? He's starting right around the same age you did. What advice do you have for him?
I mean, he's doing better than I was shooting a 9mm at 8. I didn't start shooting until like 2-3 years ago, so he's already doing better than I did.
Well, what's made you? What's something that you have done that's made you successful?
Just consistency with practice and starting small. I mean, you never really want to branch off into more guns than you can handle, and always stay sharp on your skills.
And do you shoot? Do you shoot all three disciplines? Do you shoot pistol, rifle, shotgun, or do you have a particular? What's your favorite?
To be honest, I know this is going to sound really bad, but I really hate pistols. When I did them in Steel Challenge, I was horrible with them. My friends were way better than I was. And when my dad was like, "Oh, do you want to shoot USPSA?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I shot a PCC, and I was like, "Oh, thank God there's a rifle here because I do not want to shoot pistol."
Do you just not like it, or you haven't developed that skill yet?
I mean, I was okay. I think I got to like A or B class with my pistols when I did Steel Challenge, so I wasn't awful. It was just I had the preference for a rifle. I was a lot faster. I think I made Grandmaster with my limited rifle, so obviously I like that one a lot better.
That's amazing. You know, so you're 13. So what are you in, like 7th grade?
Yeah, I'm in 8th grade.
8th grade, sorry. So, you know, right around that age, everyone, that's right when people transition to, you know, right before you turn 12, 13, right in there. And everybody's just out on the playground playing, whatever. And then right at that age, everyone's trying to be cool. That's when kids discover cool. There's like, you know, you strive to be cool. You strive to, you know, be the cool kid in school or whatever. Being a competitive shooter, being a champion, nonetheless, I mean, what's that done for your school life? You must be the coolest kid in school.
Honestly, it's not that I'm embarrassed of it. I don't really tell anyone. There's never been a negative reaction, but no one really cares. I mean, yes, it's a little more odd than soccer, but when you tell someone you do soccer, no one's like, "Oh my God, that is amazing. Let me see videos." No one really cares. So it hasn't really done much.
I would tell everybody in the world. I would tell the entire planet if I were you. I would print it on a T-shirt and just walk around and just, you know, tell strangers. I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I've been at the same school district for 9 years, and I think maybe 10 people know. I don't really, I'm not super vocal about it.
Do you of course you live in Texas. It's a little bit different environment than it is here in California. But do you have to kind of, you know, put a lid on it and not talk about it in school, or like is there a fear of you know, being judged or anything?
No, not really. This one kid I told we did a school shooter drill, and he's like, "I wish Nami was in my class." So. He was like, "Oh, she'd know what to do." So it's lighthearted, you know, nothing. No one's scared that I've told. Like I said, I've never had like a super negative reaction to it.
Yeah. Do you have brothers and sisters that shoot, or are you the only one?
I'm the only one that does competition shooting. My brother does wrestling and judo, so he's always occupied with practicing for those. But when we do make it out to the range, he does shoot from time to time.
Do you do any hunting?
I used to. I don't like it as much as I used to.
Oh, really?
I think the guts are kind of nasty. Like the skinning and gutting process, I couldn't get over it.
You know, I'm with you on that. I got to tell you, guts are kind of nasty. Jackson and I agree there, right? Guts generally nasty, right, Jackson?
Very.
Yeah, we're with you on that one. So, was it deer hunting, or what kind of hunting did you do?
Deer hunting. I think we went duck hunting a few times, but other than those two, that's about it.
So what do people say when they do find out you shoot guns?
Oh, that's cool, or either they just say cool and kind of walk away, or they say, what kind of like gun do you shoot? Not that they were super educated on it, but I just put the caliber because like I feel like generally everyone knows like a popular caliber.
Now, how does it work? Like when you're at home, I imagine you have, of course, designated times that you go to the range and practice, right? How much do you practice typically?
So it's probably bad, but I don't practice as much as I probably should because our home range, which we don't really have a membership to, we can't get out there very often. So my actual live fire practice is local matches. At home, I'll do reloads and maybe some footwork drills, but other than that, I'm pretty limited because I can't actually fire.
That's interesting. Now, do you have access to your firearms, or how does that work? If you're, I didn't have guns. My dad had guns when I was growing up, but I didn't have any firearms until I was an adult. How does it work in your house? Are you able to? How does access to your firearms work?
Funny thing is, the safe is actually in my room because we couldn't find any space to put it in the house. So it's like 2 feet away, and I could open the safe, but I don't plan on doing anything. They know I don't plan on doing anything with it, so it's not like dangerous. I just keep it locked, go into it when you need to, and check the gun always. Never put a loaded gun into the safe, and you'll be fine.
That's awesome. Seriously, I don't. This is not like talking to a 13-year-old, is it, Dave? She's a better interview than most of the adults that we talk to. You're doing a fantastic job. All right. Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what we're going to do. We got to go to a commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to ask you a lot more questions. How's that sound?
All right. Thank you.
Okay, hang on for just a minute.
Hey, our freedom of speech is just as important as our freedom of self-defense. We are thrilled to support an American company like MyPillow. Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code FreeMarket3, and you can get up to 66% off America's best pillow. Get a great night's sleep and enjoy the satisfaction of supporting companies fighting against cancel culture. That's MyPillow.com, and use the code FreeMarket3 for up to a 66% discount. How cool is that?
That's cool. All right, we're talking to Nami Cannon, award-winning USPSA PCC shooter, and she's telling us all about her competitive shooting and how successful she's been. So what are some of the other things? What are some of your other hobbies that aren't shooting?
Every once in a while, I'll cook. I enjoy cooking. I'll cook dinner sometimes. I've started collecting manga lately. My dad got me the first 3 volumes of this show I really liked. And from that point on, up until last week, I just finished the series because I think there was like 23 books to it. So I enjoy collecting and reading manga.
Wow, that's awesome. And what's your favorite dish? What do you like to cook?
It's this dish. It's like a southwesterny lasagna called King's Ranch chicken. I think it's so good. It's probably horrible for you, but it
sounds delicious. You just said some of my favorite things there.
It's an easy recipe, I think. It's cream of mushroom, rotel, onions, bell peppers, tortillas, chicken and cheese, and you layer it like lasagna, and
nothing wrong there.
I guess it is basically southwestern lasagna.
Those are a few of my favorite things. That sounds delicious. That's awesome.
I'm sure you could find it on the internet or something. I
know. Seriously, I'm going to look up the recipe and see what I can find now. Is there a gun that you want? Let me actually phrase that a different way. Is it more about, have you gotten into the actual hardware? Like, are you into firearms and this gun's cool and that gun's not cool, and here's a gun I really, really, really want? Or is it more about the competition and the guns are just the tool?
To me, it's more about the competition. My dad's pretty into building ARs. I think he's built like 4 at this point. My biggest thing is just like the appearance. Nothing else. There's not a specific gun I really want, but yeah, it's just the looks.
Are you sponsored by anybody?
Yeah, I'm sponsored by Notch Gear. They're a veteran-owned business. They make amazing hats. My amazing-looking handguards is Smoke Composites. They make great products out of carbon fiber. So if you want anything light for your gun, I go to them. And then I have my newest sponsor, Stand One Armory. They make super reliable ammo. I've had no problems with it.
I can't believe I'm talking about 13-year-olds. That was that was like a commercial. That was awesome. You did a great job. And so
Thank you.
so those sponsorships allow you to compete. Do you travel a lot to compete?
I'm not as confident in my PCC abilities as I was in my steel challenge because I thought that's a lot easier. In my mind, it is. So I've just been going to competitions in Texas or like neighboring states.
So, like on the weekends, you go to like some informal competitions to practice, and then you go to like more, qualifying and more formal competitions to place that type of thing.
Yeah, like I said, my practices are basically my local matches. Like this is one of the first weekends, or not one of the first, but this weekend I've had off because I went to like 3 straight matches before this.
Now, when you go to like the local ranges and you pull up and there's like 30, old white guys like me, and you pull up and you mop the floor and come in, I'm assuming in like the top 10. What's the reaction? What's that like?
I don't think I've gotten top 10 very much, but this, I think like 2 matches ago or so, I'm not sure. I was saying like, oh, this, and this is going to be like top floor, and that guy actually ended up being 6th, and I was 7th, so I was like, hey, don't forget about me.
But I'm assuming they all kind of underestimate you. They now, here's a kid just, trying this out. Maybe it's their first competition or whatever, and then you blow their socks off. That must be a really good feeling.
I mean, I feel like at local matches, I shoot so many that people know me. I mean, it's not like I have some common name. My name's pretty weird.
Your name's pretty weird?
So
Nami?
So Nami, let me ask you a question. When you go to these local matches and even the larger matches, are there any other shooters in your age group, or are you one of the very few?
I'm probably the youngest one there. If there is a junior, I think I saw one. He looked about 15, 16-ish, and honestly, I wasn't even sure if he was shooting.
So do you have any kind of an issue going to these competitions? Do they have age limits?
There is like a juniors division, but the thing is it's like an automatic win because no one's in that division. So
Gotcha.
I really have to go for like top women's, top PCC, and then like the overall.
Okay. So that probably because of that, you don't put a lot of pressure on yourself.
I do. I mean, there's only 4 or 5 women, and just because they're older than me doesn't mean I don't want to win. So.
Okay.
How do you deal with the pressure? Do you put a lot of pressure on yourself?
I think I do. I mean, I'm like shaking before all the stages, but I just breathe in and out, and then I don't remember any of it when I start shooting.
Yeah, I get into sports competition. I think it's enormously important for kids growing up to experience what you just described. I remember, before a football game or going out, on a wrestling match, especially wrestling, when the spotlight's on you and it's you and one other guy, and every mistake is right there. But that feeling of like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this. I'm extremely nervous, but then overcoming it and doing it well, I think is enormously helpful. And what do you do to deal with nerves?
So sometimes I'll drink coffee before the match, which is really not great for me, but especially when I'm first, I get super shaky. So I just breathe in and out, close my eyes, and then try to memorize all the movements for the stage, because that's how you've got it down, when you can close your eyes and memorize all the movements. So I like to do that right before I go up, breathe in and out, look at the stages, and then put the gun on my belt and look at the first target I'm going to shoot.
I used to, when I'd go into like these local competitions too, and the ones I'd do most often were like IDPA style, pistol style. Mm-hmm. And there was a buddy of mine who I always went with, and he was really good. So I would try to go behind him, and I would memorize his cadence. So if there were like 8 shots, I'd like bam, 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 and then I'd memorize that cadence, and I'd try to imitate it when it was my turn. That's how I'd.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'll go behind the master class and GM shooters and see what they're going to do. But a lot of times they're shooting pistols, so it doesn't really correlate to me. So if they're going to shoot in the high port, I'm usually shorter than them and shooting a rifle, so I'll squat down a little bit and go in the low port. If someone's shooting super close to the target, I've got a big gun. I got to step back a little bit. So I look at what they're doing, but I can tweak it to the point where it's like comfortable for me to shoot.
Wow. So what's your favorite out of all the competing that you've done? What was your favorite moment?
So this is kind of a mixture of my happiest and saddest moment, probably. It's when I went to the World Rimfire or something for Steel Challenge. While I did place third, I was happy about that. I lost first by 5 seconds, and I knew I did because I lost count on one of my strings and didn't shoot the stop plate. So I ended up getting a 30 instead of maybe a 15. So, yeah, I think about that a lot, about how I could have gotten first at Worlds.
So you just think about it, like it just comes up when you're daydreaming, like, man, if I'd have just – there's a lot of –
Yeah, if I had just kept up with that shot. Because I was going for the stop plate, and then I went to shoot, and that was it.
I think we all have those. Joe, don't we all have those moments, not just in shooting, too.
I think so.
Yeah.
And especially in shooting.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's very, very cool. What a pleasure it is speaking to you. You're so well-spoken. You had such an interesting journey. Where do you think it goes from here?
Keep competing, keep practicing, trying to get better. I mean, improvement is one of the best parts about this sport because especially when you feel like you're in a lull and not improving, because I had that like a month ago where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing any better. If anything, I'm getting worse. And for some reason, my dad switched my lower to Glock mags, and these past 4 matches, I've done a lot better. So it was a nice thing that I could do better, and that wasn't like my worst.
Do you think that there's a path to doing this professionally, or what do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know if I want to do this because I feel like it's quite a beating when you're outside all day. Probably like marketing management. That's something I'd like to do.
That's interesting. Wow. Have you ever thought about doing marketing for a Southern California Second Amendment organization? Because
I mean, if you let me work from home, maybe.
She's already negotiating. I like it. Now, so for you, like you were saying, hey, it's a hobby, it's a sport, it's something you do for fun. You've definitely gained a lot from it. Do you think about the politics of gun ownership and the Second Amendment? Is that something you're particularly aware of or interested in, or is it really truly that, hey, this is just a sport and something I do for fun?
To me, it's just a sport. I'm not super into politics. I find it really boring. My friend's super into it, but I'm like, man, I can't watch all that stuff. It's just kind of boring.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is boring. Well, Nami, it was extremely interesting talking to you. Do you have like a public page that people could follow your competitions or anything like that, or anything you want to promote?
Mm-hmm. You can follow me on Instagram at Nami_shoots365.
Nami_shoots365 on Instagram. All right, cool. You gonna follow her, Jackson?
I think so, and I think I might just do now.
There you go. Good job. What's your Instagram? Do you remember?
ServiceDog_Chase.
ServiceDog_Chase on Instagram. All right, awesome. Well, Nami, thank you very much. What an interesting interview. Keep up the good work. I think we'll probably have you back on in the future and see how you're progressing. And thank you so much.
You got to bring her to gun prom.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We have a big, huge gala every year, like 1,000 people, and we raffle off guns.
No.
And, 999 people. We raffle off guns, and it's a lot of fun. And it's actually called the Second Amendment Celebration Dinner, but it got nicknamed Gun Prom because we all dress up, and so we'll have to see if you'd be interested in coming out to Gun Prom sometime.
We will see.
Awesome.
When's the last time you were in San Diego?
It's been a while since I've traveled out of Texas, honestly.
Yeah, see, you'd like San Diego.
I might. I'd have to go.
We have an ocean.
We do have an ocean. Well, Texas has an ocean. She just I don't know if she lives close to it.
You live close to the ocean?
I think the closest one is like 6 hours away, so not super close.
Yeah. Come to San Diego.
There you go. Ours is way closer. That's the one thing San Diego has.
It's way closer.
Way closer.
30 minutes tops. All right. Thank you very much for calling in. It was awesome. We'll definitely look forward to chatting with you down the road.
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk to you guys.
So how do you know when the opposition knows they're weak? When they never talk about the issues because they're calling everybody a race. Oh, sorry. That's not written here.
It's not on the script.
Laura Lothian is on the line to talk about her victory in the special election for La Mesa City Council.
But first, we want to give a special thanks to Christy at U.S. Law Shield for helping to set up the interview with Jack Wilson, who is a member of U.S. Law Shield. Stories of good guys with a gun never get as much play in mainstream media as anti-guns stories. Jack Wilson is a hero that stopped the killer in White Settlement, Texas, back in 2019. Last Thursday, we got a chance to hear his story and learn from him. So if you missed the live interview with Jack, don't worry. You can watch the replay on YouTube or Facebook. And don't forget to support our partner, U.S. Law Shield, to protect yourself in the legal battle after your self-defense battle. And when can we watch that on YouTube and Facebook?
Coming up, like a week.
Okay.
Something like that.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right. It's all yours.
Awesome. So we had we've been talking since the beginning of San Diego County gun owners on how important it is to elect local officials and how important the steps are. You can't just talk about it. You can't just vote. You have to do the things it takes to win. And what better example than La Mesa's special election, where we got our endorsed candidate elected over 4 or 5 other competitors. We're very, very proud, very, very happy. Laura, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Michael?
Good. So congratulations, council member.
Yeah, you can call me councilwoman. I like that. And it's not quite yet. It hasn't been certified, but it's going to be probably this coming week.
Okay, awesome. And then you'll when do you actually take office? When do you get sworn in?
Oh, I've been told I'm going to be sworn in on the 23rd. I'm getting sworn in by Zoom, which is such a disappointment. And I asked the city manager, I go, when are we going to start meeting in person again? And apparently the city council votes every 30 days. And so far for over a year and a half, they've been voting to keep it as a Zoom. They're going to vote again December 7th. And if I'm on the city council, I'm going to vote to bring it back in person. We need to have the people in La Mesa able to talk to their city council representatives.
That's cool. That's very cool. What was the we have? It's not certified, but what was the final number? How much of a margin did you beat everybody by?
It's pretty much a blowout. It was like 40%, almost 40% for me, and then second place was 20%, and third place was like 20%. So we did. It was a blowout. We did extremely well, and it was because of your guys. San Diego County gun owners, Republican Party of San Diego, Carl DeMaio, Reform California. But I'll tell you this, the most diehard help came from the San Diego County gun owners. You have a guy named Ruben, and he came to my office, and he picked up 2 Laura Lothian for city council signs. He put one on the front of his motorcycle, and he put one on the back of his motorcycle, and he spent days riding his bike all over La Mesa, just going, woohoo, Laura Lothian with his sign everywhere. I just couldn't believe it.
That's Ruben? Awesome. Good job, Ruben.
That was Ruben. And then I told you about the lost and found guy.
Okay,
right
so
after the election,
Laura, I got to tell you,
I
did a little shout out to him at the beginning of the show, and I said that you were going to fill in the details. So give us the details there. What happened?
Well, the day after the election, I took off for my youngest daughter's wedding in Annapolis, and I left my phone at a kiosk, and I didn't have it for 5 days. So I missed all of these congratulations, including one from you. And when I went to Lost and Found, there was a young guy there, a young security guard, and he goes, "Hey, Michael Schwartz, you're my man. He called you." He's just like, I love their radio show, and he was like so thrilled to give me my phone.
That's awesome. Yeah. So there you go. Well, congratulations. What does the future look like for what would you like? What's the first thing you want to get after you after you vote to get them to meet in person? What's your first move going to be?
Well, the city manager is going to have me. He's going to introduce me to every single department head, and I'm going to start doing, my groundwork. I have to know what I'm doing. I've been private sector my entire life, and so I got to learn really quickly how government works. And everything I do, every time I'm at a city council meeting, my first thought is always going to be what I'm about to vote on. Is this good for La Mesa? Is this good for La Masons? After being in real estate for 20 years, I'm very, very, very much a stickler for fiduciary duty. And my obligations and duty are not to outsiders. They're not to global issues. They're to La Masons. And that's going to be my focus for everything.
And this is it's not a full-time position, right?
No, it isn't. You meet twice a month, but just like anything, if you want to do it right, it's going to consume a ton of your time. So I'm not going to quit my full-time job. So I'm just adding a lot more to my plate. But I want to make sure I do everything right. So yes, it's going to be a lot more than just part-time. That's
actually where I was going with that. Is you're one of the hardest working people I know. You put in, I don't know, your schedule's huge. It's extremely full. You're going to continue to work on your full-time job in real estate. But this is you're not getting rich off of being a La Mesa City Council member. It's an enormous sacrifice, which I think, I don't think, the guys down in San Diego they have full-time city council members. And of course the county board of supervisors, those guys are full-time, but this is a part-time gig for you, and you're, way underpaid for, frankly. And I appreciate you, strong leaders like yourself. You didn't have to do this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Your life was going great and you had a fantastic career and you were having a lot of fun, but you said, hey, you know what? I want to make La Mesa better. And one of the ways you want to make La Mesa better is standing up for the Second Amendment, which we appreciate. But I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, my pleasure. And it's going back to the early days of America, citizen representation. I am a citizen, and I'm not going to make a career out of this. And I'm not going to be, you're not going to see me doing this 30 years from now, like a lot of politicians do. So it's citizen representation, and it's because I want to do good for La Mesa.
And the other thing, I am confident. There's so many people that we endorse. And my first thought is, I'll bet you they're never gonna mention the words San Diego County gun owners again once they get into office. I feel like this is going to be a great relationship. I feel like you are going to stand up. We don't need you to talk about it 24/7, but when the time comes and when we do need support, I feel like you're going to be the type of elected official who stands up proudly and says, "Yep, let's do this."
By the way, let's keep this tape.
All the
We're going to keep this tape because you said you're not going to be doing this in 30 years. And I don't know why mayor keeps running through my head. So we're going to keep this tape and we'll just wait and see.
Okay, Michael.
No, that's Dave.
Well, actually, that was Dave.
Dave said that.
That was Dave. Well, and the only reason I say it is the compassion in your voice and what you're trying to do. And if you don't see things turn around the way you want it to turn, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay until it's done, right?
Yes, you're right about that. I don't walk away from an unfinished project, but I also don't like to see people in their, I was one of the people that was behind term limits in La Mesa that we spearheaded, 10, 12 years ago. I just don't like to see people, election after election after election, just sitting there. It's like, what are you doing? What's your point?
See, that's what I just said. You're not that person.
So
you're going to keep working till it's right.
And one of the big things, Carl DeMaio has enormous impact on this race. What was it like working with Carl?
Fantastic. He's extraordinarily focused. Before he even started to help me, he called me and goes, Laura, I'm going to help you with this election. He goes, you have to listen to my advice. You have to be disciplined. You have to make the calls. You have to be out there. I want you to meet everyone I introduce you to, basically, and then don't go off the reservation. And so I did. I listened to him. I talked to him all the time. He was fantastic. He had a fantastic team, Jordan and Nicole. I called Warden Jordan, because I felt like I was constantly being monitored for, sticking to my schedules and sticking to my calls and sticking to my exposure. So they were fantastic, very disciplined, very focused.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you, Laura. Appreciate it.
All right, well, keep up the good work. Love talking to you. I'm sure we'll hear how things go as the road's laid out for you.
Okay, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm chomping at the bit. I can't wait to get started.
Jax, you want to say congratulations to Laura?
Congratulations, Laura.
There you go.
Thank you, hon.
Yeah, that's Action Jackson. He's our youngest co-host here. Say that 10 times fast.
Coast.
Yeah,
All
exactly. Yeah, if you need a campaign manager, we'll send him your way.
While the trial is politically motivated, it seems the Rittenhouse has drawn an honest judge and has a good chance of having a fair trial. More on this next with Joe Drammissi.
But first, PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Are you in the military? Are you looking for help for a VA loan? If you're looking to buy, refi, or if you're just considering a reverse mortgage, you need to call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Call Chris Wiley at 619-722-1303 or just go to primeres.com/Alpine.
You ready?
All right.
Okay, so we'll talk about the Rittenhouse thing. Before I start, though, I wanted to just mention something. We had Amy Reichert on here from Reopen San Diego a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about something they did with the police and firefighters and medics in the city of San Diego who are on the verge of being fired because of this vaccine mandate. And, these people were resisting this thing again, and they're having another rally this Friday, and it's at the Oregon Pavilion in Balboa Park. It's at 3:00 out there. And, if you're available, support these people, because this is much more than arguing over a vaccine. And it's not really the vaccine. It's the mandate. It's the government forcing people to do things that they really have no right to be forcing people to do. And it's not going to stop till people stand up. And these people now, they say almost 1,000 of them are standing up, and they're risking their livelihood, their careers, their jobs to stand up and fight for this. So if you can support them, please do that. So on Friday though, we had a firefighter actually in our CCW class that's an 18-year firefighter. He's 2 years away from retirement, and he's, for whatever reasons, he's not getting vaccinated, and he's on the verge of losing all that stuff. So it's good to support these folks and see if they can help us end this nonsense. So anyway, wanted to mention that. So the Rittenhouse thing. So I wrote this article about, I think about 2 weeks ago. For some reason, we switched things around, and it made sense at the time. I can't remember why we did that. We talked about something else last week.
Yeah.
But when I wrote this, it was right at the beginning of the trial, and they had just, the judge was giving some instructions to the jury and everything. It really hadn't started yet. But I was looking at the judge, and the article was the gist of the article was that it looked like we had it looked like Rittenhouse had drawn an honest judge as opposed to a political activist type judge, and I based that on some of the things that I saw. Like he had given the jury some instructions about watching out for the media, and he actually came out and he said, we have unfortunately a very biased, very misleading media out there. So, things that you might see that you're not supposed to be looking at anyway. But, it's intentionally biased a lot of times. And I thought that was really refreshing for a judge to kind of point that out, because I think that is the reality. And he even commented about the CNN legal analysts, and mentioned actually Jeffrey Toobin by name, because of what he said were misleading, incorrect things that they were putting out on that channel, regarding the trial and the charges and the things that were coming up. So, it was, I thought those were good signs. The other thing, he removed a juror for a stupid joke that the juror was even dumber enough to tell to a bailiff there. But what
was the joke? Do you remember? What was the gist of it?
Yeah, it was something like, why did
If it's appropriate.
No, it was something like, why did Rittenhouse stop shooting? Because he ran out of. Oh no, it actually wasn't Rittenhouse. It was over the person that riot started over, the criminal that was shot by the police. And he said, why did they stop shooting? Because they ran out of bullets. So stupid joke, but
So was that joke pro or anti Rittenhouse?
now see, I would have thought that makes that. I would think the guy telling that kind of joke would make him more favorable to Rittenhouse.
And he still got kicked off. So,
Right.
So I guess what I'm going for here is that the judge is not playing favorites.
No, that's what I was thinking. That's why I said, okay, it's a fair judge here. And he also he admonished the prosecutor. He told the prosecutor, you can't call these two thugs that Rittenhouse shot. He said you can't call them victims. He said you can call them rioters, you can call them looters, you can call them a number of other things, but you can't call them victims. So it sounded like he was trying to be fair with it. And I wrote this before the trial, and then we didn't get around to talking about it. Now they've been through. I think the defense has rested their case, the prosecution's rested their case, and they're going to have final arguments on Monday, and then they'll probably have a verdict of some kind sometime next week. But, even throughout the trial, it looked like he was trying to be pretty even-handed with things. And I think that's a good thing because something that I'll write about, I think, next week, because we're going to have a verdict. And I think the verdict is going to say a lot more. It's not just the verdict for this specific trial. I think whichever way this goes is going to say a lot about our society and where we are right now. And, whether it's a guilty verdict or whether it's an acquittal. And you can see the media already cranking up for this stuff. The one, Rittenhouse shot 3 people. 2 of them died. The third guy was wounded. And the third guy was at the trial testifying. At the trial, he testified that, Rittenhouse did not shoot him until he raised his hand and pointed the gun at Rittenhouse, and then he got shot. On CNN, on Anderson Cooper and whatever Good Morning America is on, he changed his story. He said, no, my hands were up when I got shot, and he said the forensic evidence supports that. Well, okay, you can lie on CNN. You can't really lie in the court. But, I mean, if that was really true, if the forensic evidence really supported that, as bad as that prosecutor seemed to be, it seemed like they would know that. That would have come up in the trial, and they would have used that. They would have said, hey, he couldn't have been pointing the gun at you because the forensic evidence is such that you couldn't have made that wound with his arm in that position. So it's interesting, but you've got the media teeing up for if they don't get a conviction here, teeing up to play maybe to encourage the mostly peaceful protests and things like that. And it'll be interesting to see. I think I haven't followed it closely, but from what I've seen, it looks like it was a pretty reasonable trial in terms of how the judge ran it and everything. Some people feel real strongly one way, some people feel real strongly the other way. But I think if you go with just the evidence, I mean, just from the videos, it's kind of obvious. Because what he was charged with was, in Wisconsin, it's different. They don't say murder, they say intentional homicide, and then reckless homicide is what he's being charged with. And, I think depending on how that goes, I think that'll say a lot about where we're at.
So do you think that the guy who, the victim, who, what do you call the rioter?
Rioter number 1, rioter number 2.
The third guy, the guy that lived.
Okay.
Should he have been charged with something?
I would think so. It depends. And here, at least in California, I don't know what the law is out there. But in California, if you point a gun at someone, you're going to get charged with something.
In a way, ask me or tell me if you think this is stupid. Here's this guy, in a situation. Let's judge him, whatever. It was a riot. I think he was actually out there in a different. Anyway, let's skip that part. A bunch of people are shouting, "Hey, that guy shot somebody," or "Hey, he's an active shooter." Pointing at Rittenhouse, and he approached him and eventually pointed his gun at him. Is there a case to be made that now he made the wrong decision because he pointed a gun at somebody that wasn't an active shooter, but is there a case to be made that hey, it kind of stinks for this guy because everything in his mind was indicating that Rittenhouse was doing something wrong. He didn't, except he didn't actually witness it. You know what I mean? I guess what I'm saying is I'm kind of wondering if I were in that situation, if I were in a situation where an entire crowd was pointing at somebody who was carrying around a firearm, and saying, hey, that guy just shot somebody. That guy's an active shooter. That guy's a murderer, that sort of thing. I wonder how I'd react.
Yeah, and it's interesting because for one, they had to chase Rittenhouse down. Rittenhouse was trying to run away, and I don't know where this guy came into that. I don't know if he came into it at the end, if he was part of the chasing. So it's hard to say, but it'll be interesting though to see what happens.
Joel Kolander from Rock Island Auctions is on next to talk about the fine art of collecting firearms.
But first, we are proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates. They offer elite and self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors, and they provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. You can join them today. Members get great prices and free shipping. Learn more about them at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk to Joel Kolander from Rock Island Auction. Joel, are you there?
Yeah, sure am. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm getting ready for deer shotgun season in Illinois next weekend. So
nice. And
final touches.
I think you guys just got your first snow too, didn't you?
Oh, a little bit. Thankfully, nothing's sticking too much.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck out there.
Thank you.
First off, let's start with the name, Rock Island Auction. Why is it called Rock Island?
We are located in Rock Island, Illinois. Also, borrows a little bit. That's the home of the Rock Island Arsenal that started sort of our metro area, the Quad Cities area. So, and of course, a lot of people know them from their M1903s and various other milsurp goodies they've purchased throughout the year. So, seemed pretty fitting for a firearms auction house.
So that's actually my next question. What exactly is Rock Island Auction?
We are the number one firearms auction house in the world, and we have been since about 2003. That goes for the sheer number of guns. That goes for the dollars worth of guns. Almost any way you can measure it. Nobody tops Rock Island Auction Company as far as for a firearms auction house.
And that's all. That's the only type of auction you guys do is firearms?
Yeah, there's firearms. There's basically anything gun guys would like. So you might find, you'll find some militaria in there. You'll find some bayonets. You'll find uniforms. Not very often, but you also find ammo. You'll find accessories. Every once in a while, some military vehicles, some tanks, some Class 3, some NFA items. You just never know what you're going to find.
Now, are they live auctions or online auctions, or how does that work?
A little bit of both, actually. So we have, and it's something we cater to gun owners of sort of every stripe, every level of collecting. So whether you're looking for the best of the best, like 7-figure firearms, or whether you're looking for a $500 Glock, we're going to have that in one of the various auction formats, two of which have a live audience. Our online auctions, which we call our arms and accessories, those are those no live audience. So it's just either call in or we have a live streaming software as well that you can use right through our website.
7-figure. So what's an example of a 7-figure firearm?
Well, this last September, we sold a pair of pistols that had belonged to Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, wow.
Those sold for $1.15. Last December, we sold Teddy Roosevelt's silver-plated Colt single-action army. That sold for $1.46. There's been a number. There's been a string, and it's really, really encouraging for the firearms market. Guns that reached $1 million were far and few between, and here we're doing it, several times a year almost for probably the last 2 or 3 years. So it's been really encouraging for collectors.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to ask about too, because reading, I get True West magazine because I like cowboys type stuff. But they mentioned it might be you guys in there, and in most issues there's auction information, and it's interesting because, like you were just saying, a lot of I'm seeing guns that were auctioned off in the 6 figures, and just primarily single action handguns that were associated with Billy the Kid and with Pat Garrett and people like that, and pretty interesting that you guys come across that stuff.
Yeah, the Colts and Winchesters are definitely our blue chip guns. For lack of a better term, those are the ones that are regularly drawing high prices. It can either be one that's associated, it's got some sort of real close historical tie. It's associated with somebody whose name you know, or it's just art. There's no other way to put it. It's been engraved, or it's been gold plated, or it's been embellished and somehow preserved for 140 years to end up looking like it does today with us.
So, Joel, where do you get a lot of these weapons? Are they from families that, maybe the husband or the wife who's been the collector passes on, and the family just wants to bring it to the market, and that's why some of these unusual guns are starting to pop up?
We do. Yep, they're all from across the country, even some international consignments as well. But yeah, a lot of times you're, dealing with older gents who either this was their retirement plan all along.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to sell it and watch the benefits of that money come in and benefit their family, or they passed and we're dealing with an estate and a widow and trying to really help their family out and get the most for those guns.
What's your top firearm that has maybe not necessarily brought the largest amount of money, but
Mm-hmm.
really kind of puts you guys on the map?
That's a good one. The one that's been getting, actually recently, so I guess top dollar amount would be a Colt Walker. We called it the Danish Sea Captain Walker. It's actually been called that in a book or two because it was sold to a Danish sea captain by Samuel Colt. It still has today its original bill of sale from Samuel Colt.
Wow.
He took it across the sea to Europe, and when the Nazis were invading, they actually buried this gun and its original case in their garden, so the Nazis wouldn't get it.
Wow.
And again, it's one of those things. How did this survive to the current day? That brought $1.87 million still in its original case.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that was a doozy. But I mean, anything that has a name to it gets the attention. Alexander Hamilton, Annie Oakley, Teddy Roosevelt, Buffalo Bill, you name it. It's gonna bring the names and some mentions in True West.
Do you do the authenticity? I mean, do you do the examination to make sure that the firearm is authentic?
I personally don't, but yeah, we have to have a ironclad chain of provenance before we can claim that something is what it is. And I mean, we do want to make the most money for our consigners, but never at the expense of misrepresenting a gun or having buyers feel that, this is a shady business. No. It's got to be ironclad.
Right.
That's pretty impressive.
I told you collecting was good.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they say there's three different. See what you think about this, Joel. They say there are three different kinds of gun owners. There's there are hunters, there are shooters, and there are collectors. And hunters don't shoot or collect. Collectors don't hunt or shoot, and shooters don't hunt or collect.
I might be the exception. I do all three.
You do all three? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed though that is there a culture difference? People that are buying $100,000, $200,000 firearms. Is it are they more gun people, or are they more collectors, or is it just across the board?
You can find some of each. I mean, especially once you get into those higher price points. You're definitely going to find some collectors. In fact, mostly collectors, just from where the firearms market stands. The top of firearms collecting you can get into for, like we said, $2 million, as opposed to, Ferraris and things, which are, Basquiat paintings or whatever, like $43 million. So it's not the investors getting in on it. For the most case, it's going to be collectors, occasionally museums. We do find a difference, though, between, I think most hunters are shooters. I mean, you got to sight in, you got to like sitting behind a trigger, you got to like the gentle art, if you will, of being able to sight up and pull a trigger, whether that's on a duck or a pheasant or an 8-point,
So if somebody
when it comes to collecting, I was going to say when it comes to collecting, you either have room in your safe for like the really, really practical stuff, or you're making more room for, you've got all that already, and now it's time for something you really liked as a kid, or something you saw in a movie, or something Grandpa had,
So what's the number one thing you could advise the people that are listening to this show right now, if they happen to have a collectible? What would you advise them not to do to this firearm? And I'm talking about cleaning it or what have you. Is there any in the no-nos that you would recommend?
I mean, that's the first part. Get it valued before you would do anything to it.
Right.
If it doesn't, because obviously now the cleaning's a soft spot. We generally recommend not to clean anything, especially if you don't know,
Right.
especially if you don't know the value. Obviously, there's a certain time when, if you don't clean or take steps to restore or preserve a gun, it's going to be gone forever. So there needs to be some steps taken. But for the most part, don't clean it. Don't sell it if you don't know the value. Even if you think it's a really good deal, don't do that. Some people have your best interest at heart, and there's a lot that don't.
Really?
I know.
Shock, right? I know. It's hard to believe.
I would have never thought that. Yeah. Well, and because, a lot of people get so emotional when it comes to collecting. And, doing the due diligence is paramount. So do you charge for these inspections? Like I say, if someone was to send you a pistol or what have you, is there a fee to do this examination? Because I know in the car business there is, where they'll send a guy out, he'll take a picture of the car, and he'll drive it and do a complete, 10-page report on it.
Mm-hmm.
You have that in the gun industry as well?
Not currently. There are steps we take, because if it is authentic, and a consignor can stand to make money, of course, we take a percentage of that sale for our fee, so we could stand to make money as well. So it's in our best interest and the consignor's best interest if we give at least a precursory look at this thing and say, hey, is this really what all it's chopped up to be, or is it, just another story?
Exactly. What's the website?
www.rockislandauction.com.
How often do you do auctions?
Anymore, it's tricky. About a little more than 18 auctions a year.
Oh, wow. Okay, so people should get on that site and stay up to date. I'm sure you can, get the newsletter and that information sent to you as an alert.
Oh yeah, and all our social media channels are up there. You can sign up for emails and make sure you know when an auction's coming. We do a pretty good job of making us think when that's about to happen.
So we're about to go to commercial here, but we're gonna on the other side here. Want to talk to you more about Rock Island Armory, or excuse me, Rock Island Auctions. That probably happens a lot, doesn't it?
We do get that.
That's okay. Hey, if you have legal matters that involve firearms that you need, then you need to call our attorney, John Dillon, especially if you have questions on red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150 or visit his website at DillonLawGP.com. So we got Joel Kolander on the line from Rock Island Auction, and he's giving us tips on what to do and how to do it when it comes to the gun industry.
Gun auctions.
Gun auctions. So if a family member does have a large collection, then all they'd have to do is contact you. Now, you're located out of state, no doubt. So how would somebody, say, in California get in touch with you, and how would that work out? Do you travel, or you just do everything off of, photos and videos and things?
Yes and yes. Kind of whatever works out easiest. It depends, on the size of the collection and what's worth everybody's time, and to make things easier, facilitate things for everybody. So, a lot of times we'll fly out, we'll come take a look at a collection, or maybe we have, drivers in the area who are already picking up a consignment from, a neighboring city or state, and they might swing through on the way through. But a lot of times things can be submitted actually right to our website, whether it's photos there or photos through email, but it's we got any number of ways to get it done.
Well, it sounds like a good job opportunity for Joe. If you hire Joe to go out to this guy's collection, take a bunch of 150 photos, answer a bunch of questions, then Joe sends that info to you. You guys verify it, and then make the customer a bid or an option.
All you got to do is train Joe up so he has that skill.
Oh,
right?
you know more about guns than most, so I'm just saying.
So now you were saying how you don't just sell like valuable collectibles, that you sell like stock Glocks, that sort of thing. What's the difference? Why would somebody go to an auction to buy a stock Glock as opposed to just going down to a gun store? What makes you guys different?
For some of those items, a lot of times, well, I say stock Glocks. We do have some Gen 5s, Gen 4s. A lot of times you might find a pair of police trade-ins. Well, if you find a pair, you might get a little better deal on them. Or maybe you find a Gen 1 with the Tupperware container, things like that. No, you're probably not going to find that at a local gun store. Most of the time, yeah, if you're looking for a run-of-the-mill, you could buy it at a local store. You could buy it from us. You might get a better price on it. It's all kind of part of an auction.
Interesting. So are there any additional fees if you buy a firearm with Rock Island auction versus a gun store?
Yeah, and that you should always know about when you're placing your bids, if you're trying to form a budget. We charge, when you win, there's a 15% buyer's premium, and that's if you pay with basically any way except a credit card. A credit card, they toss another, I think, 3.5% on there to cover those merchant services fees. But basically 15%, so you win a, $1,000 gun, you're paying $1,150.
So where are
there's also?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say you should also be aware potentially your state may charge tax. Unfortunately, with that whole Wayfair ruling, now we've had to start assessing tax in a couple different states. Actually, the majority of states, and shipping charges.
So where, how does an in-person auction happen? Is it do we say, hey, we want to have an in-person auction here in San Diego, and then items are gathered, or is it more of a, well, hey, we have a bunch of items, and so therefore we need to have an in-person auction? Or how do the logistics work?
Sure. Well, all our auctions are held at our facility in Rock Island, Illinois. So most of the logistics are just at one point getting the guns here, and for that, there's either shipping, because we are an FFL, of course, or we do have drivers who, for large collections, may need to pick those up from a consignor's residence. But they're all held in our facility in Rock Island, and it is, I tell you what, it's a beautiful thing. When you have one building, actually it's two buildings now, but the first one's 86,000 square feet, and a good at least quarter of that is our preview hall, where you can just walk through. Every gun in the auction is set up on display. I should say more an exhibit. We try not to make it just a display. Like, we're trying to show you a little background, a little history on a lot of these guns that have that to offer. And you can pick them up. You can touch them. You can shoulder them. You can see what it feels like in your hands and inspect them. I mean, it's obviously you should be able to do that for an auction. You got to know what's going in your collection and what you're going to spend your money on. But some of these items are, museum-worthy items in every sense of the word, and you're good luck trying to get that kind of access at a museum. So we say, even if you're not going to buy, we encourage people to come to our preview day. It's always the day before our premier auctions and our sporting collector auctions. Just a comfort experience, comfort education, comfort all.
All right, and if you just say you just want, if you're listening and or you've always had an interest, and you just want to dip your toe in the deep end of the pool. What's an easy way to start collecting?
Sure. Well, I found that collecting tends to happen in stages, and it's kind of all what you're interested in. The first stage tends to be, at least for most of us, accumulating. Like, you get all your basic stuff, and you get your shotgun, and you get your deer rifle, and you get your AR, and you get a handgun and a revolver. And after that, it's kind of wherever the mood takes you. I happen to like wheel guns and very, very early Colt semi-automatics. Those really appeal to me. Well, you might like German bolt actions.
You nailed it. That's exactly what I like. German bolt action.
There we go.
Now, let me ask you this. I have a nylon 66 circa 1973. How many, is that 5-6 figures? What are we talking there?
Oh, at least 6.
If you include the decimal points, maybe, right?
Right. But for people to get started, it's what you like. And we always say, and a number of collectors, I can't claim this, there are people smarter than myself who said, but if you're going to, invest a little bit more money in a gun, and you're going to get into this, and you're going to, like you said, dip your toe into the pool, buy the book. Even if it's a $500 book, buy a $500 book before you buy a $5,000 gun.
Now, what's the book? The inventory of what you're selling, or the book on that product?
On that particular gun, and there's the people who have come before us and kind of done the scholarship, so
Gotcha.
You know if it's authentic, you know if it's right, if it has the right markings, you can compare condition, you can compare,
Right.
all the things that go into a collector firearms purchase.
So, Joe, let me ask you this, because in the car world, like when you go to a car auction, the lesser expensive and the better deals are like on Thursday. and Friday. Now, I know a lot of this is generated by television, and then all of a sudden when you get to Saturday and Sunday, that's when the high dollar product, goes across the board. Does that fall the same within your auction where, the lesser, or guns and what have you go earlier in the week, or do you save everything for Saturday?
No, so our auctions are 3 days, at least the big ones, our premier auctions. That's what the world-class firearms are, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. When I first started, I would have said that most guns, like most of those biggest, those heavy hitters, fall on Saturday.
Gotcha.
Well, then this auction came up. I'm kind of in charge of getting all the, what we're going to video as it sells. And I'll be darned if Friday isn't just jam-packed. Like, we're going to be down there the whole day filming these big dogs that are rolling on Friday. And it's just, so there's not I would say, a best day that they always sit on best items. What I will say, though, as far as, here's a tip for beginning collectors, if you're going through a catalog, and this is any auction, start from the back, like the last lot, and browse forward. Because everybody's going to browse lot number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then keep going. And then they'll place bids, and as they run out of money or as they win items during the auction, like, they'll be done bidding. You will be competing against less people at the end of an auction than you will be at the beginning of an auction. So there's a bidder tip we do like to throw out.
Can we watch your auction online, or can we watch it live, or via, I don't know, Zoom, YouTube, or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, there's a big old button right on our webpage once the auction is started. So once it's live, and that's 9 a.m. every morning, there'll be like a click to watch live.
Oh, cool.
And we'll have live streaming audio, video. You can also use that in our React Live bidding software. So you can even use that same audio video to place bids in real time from your computer, instead of, if just sitting around isn't your thing, you can get in on the action too.
What happens if you have like a really nice item, but you just don't have the bidders in the crowd? Is that, can you pull it or save it, or you know what I mean? Like, what if you're just not quite getting what you think you should get for a really nice item?
In other words, you're asking if you can put a reserve on it?
Some of our consigners are able to put reserves on items. Thankfully, we are of a size enough where we don't really have to worry about it anymore. It might be something you encounter a little more at a smaller auction house. Before an auction starts, of course, we're taking sealed bids, and that's, anyway, I always joke, we'll take a sealed bid any way you can get it to us except a smoke signal. Whether it's emails, we still accept fax and snail mail, but you can call us, you can place them on our website. Before an auction even starts, we might have 20,000 bids.
Wow. So if somebody really wants that item bad enough, they can bid high enough to try to wipe out the competition.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of an auction. If you want it bad enough, all you got to do is beat the next guy.
Throw the money at it.
That's awesome. How did you personally get involved in this?
So my wife saw a job listing about 8.5 years ago.
Wow. What were you doing prior?
Oh, man, trying not to go back into banking.
Hey, me too. That's how I got into this.
I was substitute teaching. I was doing whatever I could, but oddly enough, and it's a funny story, and I was writing in my spare time just to keep kind of writing up. I had a blog on craft beer.
Oh, wow.
And just so I would remember all the different things that I had tried and where I had tried them and things like that. And so, I'm taking pictures, I'm writing, I'm posting to social media. And so when this job came up for a guy who writes and takes pictures and does social media, it was kind of an easy fit.
Are you a gun person to begin with?
Yeah, always been more of a history person. I think it started probably a little later than most. I mean, hunting's always been there with the family. I didn't probably get into, U.S. military got me, that bug got me in high school. Mm-hmm. World War II and Vietnam got me in high school. And so, I've been kind of stuck with it ever since.
Well, very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your website again?
That is rockislandauction.com.
rockislandauction.com.
Mm-hmm. And right now on the site, you can check out, there's two auctions on site. One is the premier auction, so it's top of the line, world class. There's a 6-piece set that's owned by Napoleon Bonaparte. It's that type of auction.
Whoa.
And then there's also it's the November 22nd. That's one of our arms and accessories. So some fun stuff, some modern stuff, some gun store caliber goodies that you might find.
All right.
Cool.
Well, hey, Been great talking to you. It's very, very informative. Thank you for sharing that with you, Joel. And we hope to check out your auction, and I hope I don't buy anything.
Yes.
Well, we live in a state where your self-defense rights are under attack. Let us be your voice and help defend and restore the Second Amendment. Help spread the word about the fight, and there's 2 easy things you can do. 1, listen and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, the podcast, or whatever way you like listening to our show. 2, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps boost the show and puts it in front of a lot more people. All right, we're going to stump Michael's nephew with...
All right, man. So our most popular segment, Stump My Nephew. If you write in and send us a question to ask my nephew Sam the Gunman, and we use it on the air, we'll give you a hat or a T-shirt. If you stump my nephew, which rarely happens, then we'll give you a lifetime of training from Frontsight. So, Sam, you there?
Yeah, how are you guys?
Fantastic. Jackson, how you doing?
Good.
You ready to read him the question?
So much ready.
So much ready. Oh, man. You're in trouble this week. All right, go for it.
Steve from Mission Viejo asks, what is a lunchbox gun?
Steve from Mission Viejo was that? Thanks for writing in. Now, lunchbox gun isn't a term I'm immediately familiar with, but I want to say it is a firearm which is concealable, not necessarily on the body, maybe just a little too large to carry comfortably on the body, but plenty small enough for off-the-body carry in something like a laptop bag or a purse or a lunchbox. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, that is not correct. A lunchbox gun is made up of parts pulled from the manufacturing process prior to receiving any markings, including the serial number. These guns were often assembled by factory employees using parts that happened to find their way home with them in their lunchboxes.
I see.
And we don't expect you to know illegal situations, so I'm going to just preface that question with that.
Yeah,
Sam.
I'd never heard of that. Steve from Mission Viejo, I'd never heard of a lunchbox gun. Good question,
Haven't
though.
you heard about the guy that keeps going through the construction site with a wheelbarrow full of sand? And they go through all the sand, they dump it out, and they put the sand back in, and he leaves. Does it for like 3 months. Turns out he was stealing wheelbarrows. Think about it.
No.
Well, because everybody
Same thing,
thought
though.
he was hiding stuff in the sand.
In the sand.
Yeah.
Well, it's I'd never heard of that. I don't even know I don't know if that's like an old question. I'm not sure. I wonder what the context is there. What do you think?
I would think that's probably a little bit of an older thing. I would guess that a modern production facility keeps a little better track of its parts. It reminds me of an old joke from some Eastern Bloc country that a woman was working in a factory making sewing machines, and she wanted a sewing machine for herself. So every day she took home a different part, and when she finally had them all and put them together, she ended up with a rifle.
Exactly.
A lot of these factories made all sorts of different things, including arms.
You know, we another Magnum episode that's coming up that we haven't talked about is we interviewed the guy who runs Guns N' Moses, the shooting club that we help out with for San Diego, for the folks in the Jewish community in San Diego. And we interviewed him mainly on the fact that he grew up in the Soviet Union, lived there till he was he moved there. I think he moved when he was like 11, something like that. But he had enough information, enough experience to paint a picture of what it was like living in the Soviet Union, and even worse, being Jewish and living in the Soviet Union in the 80s. It's pretty crazy.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so that's coming up, everybody. So, all right, you didn't get that one. I got to tell you, that was a tough question. I can't really, I can't blame you for not getting it. I've never heard that. I've never heard the reference, but there's a lot of things I've never heard of. So, I don't know. I guess that.
I had an uncle who was a longshoreman in Philly, and it wasn't really the lunchbox concept, but he had a garage full of stuff that found its way home to his garage.
If it fits in the lunchbox. That's
Tom-
why they start looking at lunch
Yeah.
boxes.
And he wasn't limited to guns.
So listening on YouTube right now, Tom Swan says, it reminds me of the Johnny Cash song, One Piece at a Time. Exactly. Thanks for
That's the
listening.
one where he builds the car from one from every model year.
Right.
Yeah. Come to think of it, that kind of thing, not necessarily with firearms, hopefully, but with other equipment, has been known to happen at some scale in the military. They call it tactically acquiring something, or they say like it fell off a truck. That's kind of the in-joke for, why do you have 11 M4 magazines? It fell off a truck.
Well, see, that's why they have, as you mentioned earlier in the conversation, that, businesses scrutinize their inventory because of lunchbox guns and other situations, and where people took advantage of that situation until management realized that they better tighten up on inventory, otherwise they're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
Rules are all started by old guys, let me tell you.
How do you know the Johnny Cash song, actually, now that I think about it? Why do you know that reference?
Cultural osmosis. I'm not that old.
All right, my friend. Awesome job. Thank you so much, Sam. Appreciate your expertise and weighing in on this.
For having me on. Really tough question. Sorry I didn't get it this time.
Yeah. Well, Steve from Mission Viejo, you get yourself a front sight membership, which is a lifetime supply of pistol, rifle, and shotgun training. How about that?
How cool is that?
Plus, he gets a shirt or a hat or whatever he wants.
All right.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, now we have a new segment for the last few weeks here. We've got our newest co-host, Action Jackson. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
And we have a new segment that we call You Don't Know. Well, actually, let's play the intro. Play the intro.
You don't know, Jack.
Nice. So it's did you like that, Jackson?
Yeah.
You Don't Know Jackson. That's what we're calling it. Is that a good title for the segment? You Don't Know Jackson.
Yeah.
You like that? All right. So
What are you putting this boy through?
I know. So Jackson, how old are you?
8.
8 years old. And but you're an experienced shooter now, right? How long have you been shooting?
About a year and a half at this point.
Wow, a year and a half. That's a long time. And you go fairly often, right?
Yeah, at least once a week.
At least once a week, which I think means you do more shooting than anybody in this room. That's a lot of shooting.
Yeah.
Either that or we need to do more shooting. Maybe that's the lesson there. So you go every Wednesday, I think you said, right?
Yep.
And you shoot your Glock.
Yes.
And what do you like about shooting?
I just liked about the challenge of it and the competition.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you look forward to going every week?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you work on this last week?
This last week, I worked with my my Glock 22.
Yeah.
And my rifle chambered in 22.
Oh, wow. You shoot a rifle as well?
Yep.
Now, do you remember why you got into shooting?
Not right this second, but maybe next week I can tell you.
That's all right. That's okay. Do you think it's something you want to do professionally when you get older, or is it just something you do for fun right now?
Yes and yes.
Yeah, you think you'd like to do it professionally?
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
You should sponsor him.
Yeah, right. So if San Diego County gun owners wanted to sponsor you, would you be proud to be sponsored by San Diego County gun owners?
Very much.
Well,
you get to fly in a jet.
No, you don't.
You get the coolest clothes. You get all the latest guns. You'll never spend another dime.
Do you believe any of that?
Sure he does.
99.9%.
Good man.
I can almost promise you another hat.
Oh,
that's about as far as I
You
can
can
go.
buy him lunch.
The hat that you're wearing right now, I can almost guarantee you that we'll get you a second one of those. That'd be cool, right?
Yeah.
Now, you and I met. Where did we meet? Do you remember where we met?
Gun prom?
We met at Gun Prom. Yeah, and you gave me a little what do you call those?
Challenge coins?
Little challenge coin with your pooch's picture on it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I can't tell you. Do you like coming into the studio and being our co-host?
Very much.
What's your favorite part of being the co-host?
All of it. I can't choose one part.
You can't choose one part. Well, what do you get to say when we go to commercial?
The answer.
That's awesome.
Don't do that. We'll go off air.
Yeah, no. That'll be the end of the show.
Don't touch that dial.
Do you practice that when you go home?
Sometimes. This morning, I was just practicing it, and my mom said that I said it in my sleep.
Now, who's your favorite when you go to the Glock store? Who's your favorite person at Glock store?
Thomas, Brittany, and Brian, Miguel.
Those are all good people.
So everybody.
Those are all good people.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, that's it. That's our segment.
Yep.
You don't know Jackson.
So there'll be more next week, so make sure you stay tuned.
Yeah, now you know a little bit more about Jackson.
That's right.
Action
Hey, subscribe
Jackson.
to our show on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, YouTube, whatever your favorite flavor is, and please support our local sponsors, San Diego County Gun Owners, U.S. Law Shield, the Dillon Law Group, PRMI Mortgage, Scott Vincent at Coldwell Banker, Royal Realty, and National Concealed Carry. And Jackson, how do people follow you around? Do you have a webpage or something?
Yes, I do have a webpage. And it is at servicedog_chase.
There you go, folks. I want to thank Joe Drammissi, Michael Schwartz, Sam the Gunman, Brendan, and Action Jackson right here on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer.
This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.
KCBQ, San Diego, K241CT, Oceanside, FM 96.1, North County, and AM 1170, San Diego.